Victoria calls, Jack dad, DNA, results haunt them. The Young and the Restless spoilers. Shock fan fiction / speculative story. Genoa City had seen secrets destroy families before, but this one was different, because sometimes the most dangerous secret wasn't about money, betrayal, or revenge. Sometimes it was about blood. And on this shocking day in Genoa City, Victoria Newman was about to discover that the truth about her family could change everything she thought she knew. The morning began quietly at Newman Enterprises. Victoria stood alone in her office, staring through the glass windows at the city below. She had barely slept. Something had been bothering her for days. A strange conversation, a hidden file, and one name that kept appearing where it shouldn't. Jack Abbott. Victoria had always known Jack as an important figure in her life. Their families had been enemies, allies, friends, and rivals so many times that the lines between them had blurred. But she had never imagined calling him something more personal, something impossible, something that could tear the Newman family apart. The DNA results arrive. Victoria's phone buzzed. She looked at the screen. Unknown number. For several seconds she simply stared at it. Then she answered. "Hello?" A professional voice replied. "Miss Newman, I'm calling regarding the DNA analysis you authorized." Victoria's heart stopped. She closed her office door. "Do you have the results?" There was a pause. "Yes." Victoria swallowed. "And?" The person on the other end carefully explained that the laboratory had completed its analysis. Victoria listened without speaking. Then her face changed. "What?" She slowly sat down. "No, that's impossible." The voice continued. Victoria's hand trembled. She looked toward a photograph of her family. Victor, Nikki, Adam, Nick. And then, almost unconsciously, she looked at the photograph of Jack. The call ended. Victoria remained frozen. The DNA results hadn't given her the simple answer she expected. They had opened an entirely new question. Jack gets an unexpected visitor. Across town, Jack Abbott was in his office when Victoria walked through the door. He immediately noticed something was wrong. "Victoria!" She didn't answer. Jack stood. "What's happened?" Victoria looked at him. For once there was no corporate rivalry in her eyes. No Newman arrogance. No Abbott-Newman tension. Only fear. "I need to ask you something," Jack frowned. "All right. Did you ever have a reason to believe that I could be related to you?" Jack stared at her. "What?" Victoria took a breath. "I'm serious." Jack slowly walked around his desk. "Victoria, you're Victor Newman's daughter. I know who my father is. Then what are we talking about?" Victoria placed an envelope on his desk. Jack looked at it. He didn't touch it. "What's that?" "DNA results." Jack's expression hardened. "Whose?" Victoria whispered. "Mine." Jack stared at her. Then he looked back at the envelope. "What exactly are you saying?" "I'm saying the results raised questions about my biological relationship to the Newman family." Jack's face went pale. "Victoria, I don't know what to believe." Jack opened the envelope. He read the report. Silence filled the room. Then Jack looked up. "This can't be right." Victoria's voice cracked. "That's what I said." Victor hears the rumor. Victor Newman was never supposed to be caught off guard. But this time, the information reached him before Victoria could. Victor stood in his office when Nikki entered. She immediately knew something was wrong. "Victor?" He didn't answer. Nikki walked closer. "What happened?" Victor finally looked at her. "Victoria has been asking questions." "About what?" "Jack Abbott." Nikki's expression changed. "Jack?" Victor nodded. "And apparently she had DNA testing done." Nikki froze. "Why?" "That's what I intend to find out." Nikki looked deeply concerned. "Victor, Whatever this is, don't confront Victoria while you're angry. I'm not angry. Nikki raised an eyebrow. You're never more dangerous than when you say you're not angry. Victor turned away. This family has survived too much for me to let a laboratory report destroy it. But Nikki knew Victor, and she knew he wasn't telling her everything. Victoria returns home. Victoria arrived at the Newman Ranch later that afternoon. Victor was waiting. So, he said, we need to talk. Victoria looked at him. About the DNA? Victor's eyes narrowed. Yes. Victoria immediately understood. You already know. I know enough. Then you know why I'm confused. Victor walked toward her. DNA doesn't change who your father is. Victoria shook her head. That's exactly what I'm afraid of. Victor stopped. What did the report say? Victoria's eyes filled with tears. It doesn't give me the answer. What does that mean? It means something doesn't add up. Victor's voice became colder. Then the test is wrong. Victoria looked at him. You can't just say that. I can. No, Dad. The word stopped Victor. Victoria immediately looked away. Sorry. Victor stared at her. She hadn't called him Dad in anger. She had said it because she was frightened. And suddenly Victor understood something. She wasn't trying to replace him. She was afraid she might lose him. Victor softened. Victoria. She looked back. I need you to tell me the truth. Victor stepped closer. I have always told you the truth. Victoria shook her head. Have you? The question cut deeply. Jack's confession. Meanwhile, Jack couldn't stop thinking about the DNA report. He called Ashley's old contacts, searched through Abbott family records, and reviewed documents that had been forgotten for decades. Nothing made sense. Then an old photograph caught his attention. It showed a young John Abbott, standing beside someone Jack barely recognized. A woman. Jack stared at the photograph. His eyes widened. He remembered hearing her name years ago, a woman connected to a complicated chapter of the Abbott family's past. Could she have been connected to Victoria's birth? Jack immediately rejected the idea. No. But the possibility was there, and that was enough to terrify him. Victoria arrived again. Did you find something? Jack hesitated. I found a name. Whose? Someone from your family's past. Victoria stared at him. Tell me. Jack handed her the photograph. Victoria studied it. Her face changed. I've seen her before. Where? In one of Dad's old files. Jack's voice became quiet. Then this isn't just about us. Victoria looked up. What are you saying? I'm saying someone may have spent years hiding the same secret from both families. The second test. Victoria refused to accept the first report. She wanted another test. Jack agreed. They arranged for an independent laboratory to examine the samples. This time, Victoria insisted that the testing be completely private. No Victor, no Nikki, no Newman employee, no Abbott employee, just the laboratory. Days later, the second report arrived. Victoria and Jack met privately. Neither wanted to open it. Finally, Victoria did. She read the first line, then the second. Her breathing became shallow. Jack watched her. Victoria? She looked at him. I don't know what this means. Tell me. She handed him the report. Jack read it. His expression changed. This isn't possible. Victoria whispered, That's what the first test said too. Jack looked at her. What if the tests aren't wrong? Victoria's eyes widened. Then what? Jack couldn't answer. Victoria says the word. The emotional breaking point came later that evening. Victoria and Jack stood together in the Abbott mansion. Victoria was overwhelmed. Jack tried to reassure her. Whatever the results say, you don't have to face this alone. Victoria looked at him. Why are you doing this? Because you're family. She froze. Jack immediately realized what he'd said. Victoria's eyes filled with tears. Family? Jack nodded. Yes. Victoria took a step closer, and then, without thinking, she whispered, Dad. Jack froze. The room went silent. Victoria covered her mouth. I didn't mean... Jack shook his head. Victoria. I don't know why I said that. Jack's eyes became emotional. Maybe because you're scared. Victoria looked at him. Or maybe because something inside me already believes it. Jack couldn't respond. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The word hung in the air. Dad. One word. But it carried decades of questions. Victor walks in, the door opened. Victor Newman entered. He saw Victoria. Then Jack. Then the DNA report on the table. His face hardened. What is going on? Victoria turned. Dad. Victor stared at her, but this time she wasn't talking to him. She was looking at Jack. Victor realized it immediately. His expression changed. You called him that? Victoria said nothing. Victor looked at Jack. You had better explain. Jack stepped forward. I don't know what the results mean. Victor's voice became dangerous. But you know what she called you? Jack nodded. I heard it. Victor looked at Victoria. You are my daughter. Victoria began crying. I need to know the truth. Victor answered, Then we'll find it. The secret file. Nikki later discovered an old Newman file hidden inside a locked cabinet. She opened it. Inside was a letter. The letter was decades old, and it contained a name that neither Victoria nor Jack expected to see. Nikki read it twice. Then she whispered, No. She immediately called Victor. We need to talk. What is it? I found something. What? A letter. From whom? Nikki hesitated. Someone who knew about Victoria's birth. Victor's expression changed. Bring it to me. Nikki did. Victor read it. His hands tightened around the paper. This changes everything. Nikki looked at him. What does it say? Victor didn't answer. Instead, he asked, Who else knows about this? Nikki shook her head. I don't know. Victor looked toward the door. Then we find out. A Newman-Abbott war? By the next morning, rumors were already spreading. Employees noticed that Victor and Jack were suddenly avoiding public appearances together. Kyle heard whispers. Nick heard whispers. Adam heard whispers. And Adam Newman immediately became suspicious. He confronted Victoria. What are you hiding? Victoria refused to answer. Nothing. Adam laughed. That's not convincing. You don't need to understand everything happening in my life. You're right, but if this affects Dad, it affects all of us. Victoria stared at him. Adam, for once, don't make this about yourself. Adam stepped back. Fair enough. Then his expression softened. If you're scared, tell me. Victoria looked at him. I don't know who to trust. Adam answered quietly. Then start with yourself. That statement stayed with Victoria. The final shock. The third set of DNA results was scheduled to arrive. Victoria, Jack, Victor, and Nikki were all present. Nobody spoke. The laboratory representative entered. I understand there are questions regarding the previous reports. Victor crossed his arms. Give us the truth. The representative placed a sealed document on the table. There is a complication. Victoria stared. What kind? The samples submitted for the first test were not identical to the samples submitted for the second. Jack looked shocked. What? Victor's eyes narrowed. Are you saying someone switched the samples? We cannot determine that. Victoria whispered, Someone wanted us to believe something that wasn't true. Jack looked at Victor. Victor looked at Nikki. And suddenly, everyone understood. This wasn't a family mystery anymore. Someone had interfered. Someone wanted the Newman and Abbott families to turn against each other. Victoria's eyes hardened. Who? Nobody knew. Then Jack's phone rang. He answered. His face changed. What? He listened. Then he slowly lowered the phone. Victoria asked, "What happened?" Jack looked at her. "Someone accessed the Abbott family archives last night." Victor stepped forward. "What was taken?" Jack answered, "Your birth records." Victoria froze. Victor stared at Jack, and somewhere in Genoa City, the person holding those records smiled, because the DNA mystery was only beginning. What happens next? The shocking DNA storyline leaves Victoria facing questions she never expected to ask. Could the laboratory samples have been manipulated? Why were Victoria's birth records targeted? Who knew about the mysterious woman in the old photograph? And most importantly, why does someone desperately want Victoria and Jack to believe they share a father-daughter connection? Victoria's emotional decision to call Jack Dad may haunt both families. For Jack, the word creates an emotional bond he never expected. For Victor, it threatens everything he believes about his family. And for Victoria, it creates the most painful question of all. Is family defined by DNA or by the person who was there when you needed them? One thing is certain. The Newman-Abbott feud is about to enter completely new territory. And when the real DNA results finally arrive, Genoa City may never be the same again.